This is Mike and Sean back with Talking Tickets. We got Howard on the night talking autos, his collection, top 100, and much more. Howard.
Hey guys. Hey, it's going great. Thanks for having me. I can't tell you how much I appreciate it.
Yeah, we're excited to have you on. Howard is a guy that's been in the industry for a while. I know let him tell more about himself, but he's got some cool auto stories from back in the day. Big auto guy back, even a little bit now. Big collection, and kind of hit us up about a top 100 that we'll talk about. We're trying to put together. But Howard, I mean, just tell us about you and your collection and your ticket world and that whole fun stuff and how you got started. And I'm ready.
Sure, yeah. Well, I appreciate it. I started off, I think, like a lot of collectors, doing cards. I was a very big card collector. Love cards. My mom was the one who kind of pushed my brother and I to collect vintage cards. She took us to the National show a whole bunch of times. Our first National was in 1989, the 10th National. I didn't do tickets back then, but I did cards, started to get into memorabilia, really liked it, had a really serious collection. I will tell you, a serious collection. And then kind of as I got older, I started to gravitate into some other things. I'll talk to you more about my autograph chasing days. Did a lot of chasing, got a lot of things signed, met a lot of people, got into a little bit of trouble along the way, but all fun. And then I started to get into tickets. I don't know, maybe it was 5 or 6 years ago. Really liked tickets, really thought they were collectible. I got into, I think, what everyone kind of starts out with, like a Don Larson perfect game ticket. It's a classic event, memorable, wasn't expensive when I bought it back then. Bought a Willie Mays catch ticket and was hooked. I then got into, I'm from Philadelphia, love Philadelphia sports. So I got into some Philadelphia stuff, got a Dr. J NBA debut ticket, the real one, not a proof. Got it signed by the doctor. That's a really cool piece of my collection.
You have that one handy?
I can bring it out. I don't have it handy, but I can bring it out.
That's okay.
Happy to bring that one out. And then, you know, the Allen Iverson debut kind of got me too. I think it was like $50 back when I bought it. I just thought the ticket was stupendous. That die cut ticket, and you're a Sixers fan, and it's Ray Allen's debut, and you know, it's the opening of the Core States Center. How do you not, as a Philadelphia fan, grab that? And then I kind of progressed a little bit, and I wanted a Mantle debut. Talked to a guy out in California and was able to acquire one. He actually had it on eBay. I called him and did a private sale with him. And that's when I started to realize that tickets are very scarce and they are rare. And it just kind of baffled me. When I called him and I said, hey, you know, I appreciate we got this deal done on the Mantle debut. I'd like to get a Mays debut and a Sandy Koufax debut, and I'd like to get this debut and that debut. And he just kind of started laughing at me. He's like, what do you mean you just like to get these things? They're like impossible to find. And that's when he educated me a little bit on opening day tickets versus middle of the season tickets. And hey, Mickey Mantle was a prospect in 1951. That's the opening day ticket for the Yankees. It was a packed house, lots of tickets available. And that's still a rare ticket. But Willie Mays, you know, hey, he opens in the middle of the 51 season on the road in Philadelphia, you know, during the week.
Yeah.
There was 4,000 people there. Who kept that ticket?
Yeah.
Nobody. And that's why, Sean, there's one that we know of.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
There's only one Mays.
The one that I know of, there might be another.
You know the owner or owners?
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
I do.
Yeah.
We do.
Yeah.
So that was the educational process, and you know, then just started to get into it a lot more heavy. Love the debuts. Love the moments, love it all. And guys, I'll tell you, I mean, I get a lot of pleasure out of putting Grail pieces in my collection, but I also get a lot of pleasure out of, I don't know, $10 or $15 tickets, or $15, $20 tickets too. So yeah.
How would you characterize your collection as a ticket collector right now? We talked a little bit about this before, where Mike is kind of all over the place. I'm very specific with Hall of Fame debuts, firsts, and Mariner stuff. What would you say yours is like?
Yeah, I mean, I think my collection's more like Mike's. It's not as good as Mike's. Mike's is super impressive, but I'm getting there. I'm trying. Mine's kind of all over the place. I have a lot of what I'd consider to be trying to shoot for that top 100 on my list, my Grail list.
Mm-hmm.
I do have a lot of football, NFL greats, their debuts. I put a lot of those together. And then, just some Philadelphia tickets, because I'm a Philadelphia sports guy. So I chase those. So, a little bit here and there. I've also gotten into the presidential first pitch tickets. I like that a lot. And those are relatively cheap.
Yeah.
I'm a history guy. I'm a historical guy. I like the social historical tickets as well. So, yeah, I mean, if I can find some of those things, it's kind of cool. Like, I just picked this one up on Boogers. This is kind of cool. This was not expensive. Can y'all see it?
Yep.
This is the first high five, Dusty Baker and Glenn Burke.
Yeah.
So that's kind of cool. And I'll get Dusty to sign that. Buddy of mine does signings with him, so we'll get Dusty to sign on that one. And yeah, I mean, also Glenn Burke was the first openly homosexual player in baseball. So there's some kind of historical thing to go along with that as well. So pretty cool ticket, I thought.
What happened to your card collection? Did you sell it all and switch over to tickets 100%?
So it's not 100%, Sean, but it's close to 100%. I did okay with my cards. I had complete sets from the 50s, most of the years of the 50s. So I had complete sets, put those in auction houses, and we did pretty well. Also had a lot of really top tier cards, and I've used some of the really large auction houses to get pretty good value on those things. And then I've taken some of that money and put that into tickets. Hey, look, I've had the opportunity to get some really big boys before they were really big boys, and I was stupid and didn't make the moves I should have. Had the chance to get a Jackie debut, and it just wasn't right in my life at that time to be able to throw $10,000 at a ticket. But boy, I wish I had.
Yeah.
So when you said you started about 6 years ago, was it just something you're at a show and you're like, that's kind of how it was for me. I wasn't into cards at the time, but I was looking for something to get into because my friends were collecting. But you were into cards, and then all of a sudden did a light bulb go off, or just kind of a natural transition? Do you remember how that all started? Yeah,
it's a good question. Actually, I remember it was just buying and selling on eBay and doing the cards there. And then all of us, and memorabilia, signed pieces as well. So I brought this out. This I just acquired. Is that centered?
Yeah.
Jackie Robinson index card that I picked up. That's PSA graded. I got this out of the Hunt auction. I collect a lot of Jackie autographs, and a lot of big, Babe Ruth, Lou Gehrig, Roberto Clemente, Jackie Robinson, those kind of autographs. And I started to see tickets pop up here and there during my searches. And I'm like, wow, that would be cool to have a ticket to Don Larsen's Perfect Game. I mean, it's such a rare thing. I'm a baseball lover, baseball historian. Why not gravitate into that? I don't know. I probably paid $40-$50 for it. And I thought it was the coolest thing coolest thing I had. So why not kind of, dive a little deeper? And I did. I started to pick up things. Like I told you, more of the, kind of commonplace tickets that we see, but big events. And that's kind of where it kind of started. And I'm definitely, you guys know I'm hooked. So I'm hooked big time. But I love what I do. I love doing it. I love talking to you guys. I have to say, you guys have been so good for tickets. You guys have both been good to me, answering questions, talking to me, and I think this show is great to bring more people into the ticket collecting community.
Yeah, appreciate it.
Yeah, no worries. I don't know, Mike. I sent you some pictures. I don't know if you want to get into that, but I was a little heavier back in those days of chasing.
I noticed that. I was like, oh, Howard, man,
Yeah,
he got in shape
yeah.
after his auto days.
Yeah.
But yeah, so tell people who don't know, tell us about your auto. You're in that world, and man, talking to people, it is kind of a whole nother world. Just kind of give us the rundown of what you're doing back then and how it worked, and everything that is involved in it.
Yeah. So I used to chase very vigorously celebrities and athletes and politicians and notable people for autographs. And I turned around and sold them. Our business was called Straight from the Stars. And part of the kind of deal with us was we didn't sell it unless we saw it signed ourselves. There I am, pretty heavy back in the days with some of these famous people.
When you say famous, now these are some of them super famous people.
Yeah. So during my days of chasing, I went ahead and I would get, and look, this is before 9/11. So you could go to the gate in an airport and not have a ticket to get on the plane. You could just walk through security. There was no such thing as TSA back in the day. And we would go to the gates because we had people that were giving us information on who, famous-wise, celebrities, were coming through the airports in various different places. So every night I would get a list faxed to me that told me this particular airline was going to have someone waiting at the gate to walk a famous person through the airport. And we had the entire list.
I love it.
So,
they faxed it to you.
So how did you get the list? Where'd the list come from? Just randomly?
Who's the mystery man who would?
Yeah, that I'm taking to my grave. That one I'm taking to my grave.
So you had insiders working for you, and were they getting something out of it? Or
they were getting something out of it.
We're getting something out of it.
They were getting something out of it.
Okay, and so the question I was going to ask. And we chatted a little bit about this before, but how is this the same thing as just paparazzi who are trying to get photographs of people and get paid for it? Is it the same sort of business model?
Yeah, I think it is. I think it's probably not as sophisticated as the paparazzi aspect of it. But we were actually asked on occasion, because people knew us and they knew we had a lot of the information. They were like, hey, if you can go ahead and get some pictures taken of some of these people while you're doing certain things, we would pay money for it. So we kind of had a little bit of that. I mean, I remember a magazine calling us and saying, hey, we need to get a picture of Ringo Starr at an AA's meeting. He's going to be in town for a week. Do you guys think you could pull that off? I'm like, well, we're going to be chasing him pretty hard for a week. If he happens to go into one, I'll have my camera and I'll try to get it. And we got it. Wow. And candidly, we got paid a lot more money for the picture than we did for many of the autographs that we got. But
did you have any really bad run-ins, really good run-ins, people you enjoyed, the good, the bad, the ugly?
Oh yeah. So the good was, being in Miami, and I used to go around the country doing it, but being in Miami, we would see some regulars come through the Miami airport on a weekly basis. So Gloria Estefan, Jennifer Lopez, I mean, we would see them once, twice a week, and they just used to laugh and we became friendly. You can't go up to somebody with 25 8x10 photographs and not admit to them that you're not selling them. I mean,
so how many would you show up with?
Yeah, I'd show up with 25, or 30, and I'd have a couple of kids with me. And yeah, it was a big deal. We'd walk out.
Kids, like how old were the kids?
Not young kids, but teenage guys.
Well, I thought because you see these videos of people obviously using kids as a prop to try and get autographs, and
yeah.
So you weren't in that game.
No, not in that game, but and we would be very honest with them, and I would tell them, hey, I'm putting myself through college with this, and a lot of them were very receptive to it, and they liked it. They would tell us, hey, get a lot of money. make all the money you can. And times we'd go down there, we'd bring flowers or we'd bring something to give them something to thank them for them doing it for us. So yeah, we had a lot of really good experiences. I mean,
who was not receptive?
Yeah, well, like you have that picture up there of Bob Dylan. Bob Dylan's one of the toughest autographs imaginable. So the day that I got him in that picture, it's kind of the one far back. I knew that every time that I got him, it was going to be probably $1,000. So getting him was really cool. That was pretty amazing. That was pretty great because I had chased him a lot and had been skunked every time because he's just a very difficult autograph. In fact, I heard recently that, yeah, that's the picture. Me get, and you can see, I'm getting gripped there by the big guy. Got me by the arm there. But that's kind of nothing. But I heard recently that he actually put out a book that was signed, and people found out that it was an auto pen and that he didn't really sign them, and they were paying $600 for the book. And I guess the publisher, Simon & Schuster, reimbursed everybody the $600 and told them to keep the book.
Wow.
So, yeah, his autograph's really tough. But we had some really good experiences. I mean, look, you had to outwit everybody. I mean, it had to be where you were one step ahead of everybody. I remember, chasing Britney Spears when she was really up and coming and having these humongous dudes with her and just not being able to get close. So we kind of figured out a way where we knew where she was staying. We had like our first run of people go up at her, and all the goons went for the first run of people.
Strategy, I love it.
The big guys like myself were in the hotel, and she walks in with no goons, and it was party time. And when they walked in, they were like, "Oh my God, we were outsmarted." So
it's like a football play, you just send the blockers in first.
Yeah.
There you go. There you go.
You got a huge high when you got that auto you've probably been chasing for forever.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, hey, it was fun. A lot of fun.
So when did it end? Or is it still going on? Are you still getting faxes now instead of you're getting emails?
You still have contacts, I'm sure.
I have contacts. So one of my good friends owns Famous Inc., and he does a lot of private signings with a lot of the big athletes. He's phenomenal, has a great business model. He has David Ortiz. He's got Allen Iverson. He's got these guys for exclusives. So I talk to him a lot, and he helps me out with some of those guys. Also, he goes to the shows. So if it's a show I can't go to, sometimes he'll take my stuff with.
I think I've actually used him before and sent my stuff to him. So what is your take now on basically getting tickets autoed, some of these exclusives where they won't let you get ticket autos? Since you're the auto guy, I feel like you probably have some hot opinions on the ticket auto world.
Yeah, look, I'm one of these people that says if someone's sitting down and you're going to charge them a reasonable price and they're going to pay it, then fine. If there's certain items that need to be a premium, because I'm back in the day when I would go to shows, a bat was a premium, a jersey was a premium. If someone thinks that a ticket should be a premium, okay, that's fine. It just shouldn't be an outrageous premium, or they're not going to sign the tickets because we want to exclusively keep the market to ourselves. That's the part I don't like. The Mike Tysons, I don't sign tickets. The Fanatics guys, we don't sign tickets. But yet you go to the guy who runs Tyson and you go to his table at the National and he's got tons of tickets out there. Yeah, I actually wound up, you asked me, do I still chase? This was recent. That Mike Tyson was recent. That was in the last couple of months because he doesn't sign tickets. I had my 2 Bite tickets and my Tyson Spinks ticket, and I needed them signed. And Mike was super cool.
Hey, so let me ask you, I'm looking at this picture now. You got black on this one and blue on the other 2. So you had 2 pens handy, and this is what you're wanting? Or
I did not. So you guys are very spoiled as people who send in to these signings and these shows where someone's sitting down. This was not a sit-down autograph show. This was Mike, who I don't know if you know, but he has a marijuana company now. So Mike was pretty happy that night. I'll just say that. And I actually had the blue pen. That was my pen. There was a guy that had a black pen that he was getting a glove signed. So I went up and got my 2 bite tickets signed in blue. Mike then took the guy's pen to sign his glove in black. And I threw down the Tyson Spinks ticket and he banged it out in black, which was fun. I don't care about pen color. I was just super happy to get them, and they were free autographs, and they're now at PSA. So I guess I'll see him in 2 years. But
And you even got some pictures with him too.
yeah, he was really cool. He was so nice, and there was really, I mean, like I said, it's the promoters that are preventing these guys from signing these things, and I get it. I understand it. You pay a lot of money, you have exclusive rights, so you can do whatever you want. But at the same time, guys, I don't think that there should be anybody that's foreclosing any item. Like, hey, we're not gonna sign tickets, and the reason is because I want to control the entire ticket market. I just don't think that's right.
Yeah,
that's right.
It forces people to have to go search them out through a separate company. Maybe you should
Yeah, there we go.
Restart the big company, just compete with these guys, and look, we'll go do it ourselves.
I'm retired, guy. I'm really retired.
Howard, were there competitors? Were you battling with other companies, kind of doing the same thing?
Of course. Oh yeah. So the great thing was when you'd be in a place with someone exclusively. You knew you guys were the only ones, but no, most of the time we'd be up against other people, and it was competitive. Most of the crews were friendly, but hey, look, when it came down to that moment where it was money. So the times you were there, you were pushing, you were shoving, someone stuck something over you. Plenty of fighting and pushing and craziness, crazy. Yeah, that's why I don't really do it that way anymore. When I went to the Tyson event, it was a thing where he was talking to the public, and it was something where people had to pay to get in. And I think I sent that ticket of I recently got Jimmy Johnson on some tickets. He did a book signing at the Miami-Dade County Book Fair, and me and a buddy went down there. I had a couple of tickets. I actually grabbed one from Mike. It's the How About Them Cowboys game. And Jimmy's always been a tough autograph, and he didn't really want to sign for us, but he signed for us. So that was pretty exciting too. He was down there signing his book. But I think we were the only ones to get anything other than a book signed that night. So
we got a question. How many times did you get Michael Jordan to sign, and what years did you chase MJ?
Yeah, so those years that's probably late 90s, I would say, that I chased Michael. There's that picture of me getting Michael. He's a difficult autograph. I mean, even there, you can tell he's talking to me. And
this is a 90s picture if you've ever seen one.
Yeah. Look at the pants. That's actually at Charles Barkley's Invitational Golf Tournament in Orlando. That was at Bay Hill right there. That's Arnold Palmer's golf course.
Wow.
And Charles was playing with him, and Michael was there. David Robinson was there. Grant Hill was there. Rush Limbaugh was there. A lot of great players. Michael was tough. I mean, we had a couple of one-on-one opportunities where he just outwardly refused us. So I think that tournament, maybe I got him 2 or 3 times. I probably asked him 25 times.
Wow.
So that kind of goes to show you how many times. My brother actually at the same tournament, same exact time, was wearing a Phoenix Suns hat that he got Charles Barkley to sign. And Michael said he wouldn't sign for him because he was wearing a Suns hat.
Whatever excuse.
Did you usually just get 8 by the picture sign? Was that kind of your go-to back in the day?
It was. The good thing for us relative to pictures was that the 8x10s were small enough that we could kind of conceal them under our clothing. So if someone didn't, no one realized that we had 8x10s kind of stuck in our clothes. Where if you have baseballs or golf balls or larger items, that would be more challenging. So most of the time it would be photographs, 8x10 size photographs. We did get into some larger photographs back in the day. I used to go to the team hotels too. So I used to chase the teams as well when they would come into, visiting teams to play the Miami Heat. We used to go down for literally almost every team. We'd go to the early morning shoot around, get them when they got on the bus. They'd walk across the street, and after they came back from practice, they'd go to lunch. We'd try them again. We'd be down there for them when they left for to go to the game. It was a big business for us.
So
big business.
Howard, this is a question people ask me all the time. Who's the biggest jerk that you have ever encountered?
We had a lot of jerks. I mean, I don't want to keep pointing out Bob Dylan, but he was really, really difficult.
But he actually signed, right? Like, was there anybody who just absolutely flat out refused 25 times in a row?
I don't think there was anybody that I really just didn't get that I went for over a period of time. I mean, look, Jordan was very hard to this day. I mean, he doesn't live far from me, and I've seen him out a few times, and he's just an absolute no. Yeah. I hate to admit it, I still do get a call once in a while from places that I used to have connections at that still work there at certain golf courses, and they will tell me Michael is there playing today. If you want to come down and try to get him, I don't even go anymore, even if I don't have anything to do. I mean, I'm a busy practicing trial lawyer down here in South Florida, so it's hard for me on a whim to go run. But for Michael Jordan, you might, because it's meeting a legend and still pretty cool. But it's not pretty cool to go all the way down there for him to just tell you, nah, man, I'm not doing it.
Yeah.
And look, I know Michael's shtick. I know you got to beg Michael and talk Michael up and Mike, and come on, Mike. It's a once, Mike. But he's tough. He's really tough. He's very tough.
Well, I know a big thing now is guys buying raw tickets and getting them signed. Like there's a guy in Dallas I know who will sit outside the AAC and know when Luka comes through and tries to get as many Luka debuts or anything Luka ticket and get him autoed. And I even saw him, he had a pretty cool setup where he had it like on cardboard and painter's tape. So it was real easy just for the guy to take it and sign it real quick. I mean, have you ever dealt with anything recent with tickets you've had getting them signed?
Yeah, I have. So first I would comment on your friend out there. I think that's Dallas Graffs. And he's got a lot of great stuff. That guy's out there hustling, and that's great. The one thing I would say is, those setups are really cool with the little, the corners where you'd put it on a piece of cardboard so it would be easier to sign. But that also makes you look like a professional. So a lot of guys don't want to sign for you because they're like, oh, you're not really a fan. You're a pro. So it's a great setup, but you got to be careful because it can bite you in the backside too.
It's not checkers, it's chess.
It's definitely chess. Like I'll show this one. I got this signed at the National. This is my Barry Sanders debut. And look, it was an expensive ticket. I talked to Barry and made sure, he didn't mess up the ticket and did me right on it. But it was so pleasant talking to Barry and dealing with Barry at the National, because Barry is extremely difficult, an extremely difficult signer. Back in the day, he was very hard and not so nice. So to see him in that setting, it was actually somewhat refreshing. Now, I probably paid $200 for the autograph. I wasn't asking him to sign it for free. But actually, I'll tell you too, Barry was excited about the ticket. He had not seen one. And he actually said to me, he goes, hey, do you have an extra one of these? I'm like, extra one? There's like one of one. Like this, like
Barry Sanders is a ticket collector.
He's a ticket guy. He says, well, man, if you have an extra one, I'd love to get an extra. I'm like,
wow, that's cool.
Yeah. So
do you have any strategies when you do get tickets signed at shows of like, hey, talk to him, or, just because some people go in there blind. Like I've never actually done it myself at a show. I'd be like, well, do I just give it to him, the ticket itself? Do I put it on something? Do I talk to him about, can I sign it? How much can I talk to him? How does that usually all go down?
Yeah, so I'll give a little bit of a story. The first time I actually met Shaun in person was at the Chicago Spectacular show, and he keeps showing that Mariano Rivera debut that he got signed, and we were all there with him when he got it signed, giving him the pointers on how to do it. So
yeah, Howard pulls me aside and he says, "Listen, I've got some tips for you." Very good. It came back at PSA 10, so they were spot on.
So what are the tips?
So I like to use the Stadlers over the Sharpies if I can. And I actually like the fine point Stadlers better than the medium point Stadlers, especially on smaller tickets. If it's a larger ticket, then I do like the medium point Stadler.
Was that Barry? What was the Barry? Is that a fine or a medium?
This Barry, I think he did it in a medium Stadler, but it probably would have been a little easier if it would have been a fine point Stadler. I like the fine points, especially on like a smaller, more narrow ticket. I definitely like to talk to them. I get right up to them. I don't let them just pull the thing away from me. I never give it to a handler. Handlers are like, they don't even exist in my world. You do not exist. I know what I'm doing. You're not taking anything from me. You're not touching my stuff.
Real quick, Howard, what is the handler? Is that's just the guy sitting next to, making sure that you have your ticket and all of that stuff?
Correct. Yeah. The handler is the guy sitting next to him who's going ahead and counting the tickets and making sure you're not getting the premium item with the low level ticket, et cetera, and that you have the right tickets for the thing. I'm happy to hand them the tickets, but I don't even engage with those people. I'm nice to them, but you're not touching my stuff. And then the other thing I do is I type it out on a computer what I want the ticket to say. There's one collector that he actually makes color copies of the ticket and shows them exactly like where he wants them signed. But I actually have a piece of paper written out. So like for the Barry, it said Barry Sanders, and then underneath it said NFL debut. And I tell them beforehand, hey, it's DEBUT, because that's not an easy word for a lot of these guys to spell. And I've seen that messed up so many times. You get a couple $1,000 ticket. You don't want it messed up by somebody not spelling debut correctly or, doing something that they shouldn't have. And these guys are not paying attention all the time. You've got to engage them and make sure they don't mess up your stuff.
When you give them the ticket, is there anything on the ticket like sign here, or is it you just pointing to them and telling them?
So in person, I have the ticket out. Normally I'll even have it sometimes on the cardboard, or I don't want it to run on the back and the cardboard make the autograph come out looking bad. So sometimes I will have that. Other times I'll just lay the ticket down. I'll have my piece of paper. I put my hands up, like, don't even sign the ticket yet. This is where I want it. I show them and I tell them, hey, this is a big part of my collection. This is really rare. I mean, at the National, I had a Darryl Strawberry debut that I was getting signed for a friend. And, I treat my stuff or other people's stuff like it's my stuff. A lot of people left tickets with me at the National who went home on Saturday and needed guys on Sunday, and they trusted me with $1,000 tickets. And I was thrilled with that. I mean, look, I'm not going anywhere, but not only did they trust me with the value of the ticket, but they knew it wasn't going to get messed up, that I was going to treat it like it was my own. But I don't even let them start touching a pen or, hey, look, it's going to go right here. This is where it needs to go, the autograph. And if there's an inscription underneath, this is where it's going to go. Fit it in. Here's the piece of paper. It exactly says what it says. And Shaun heard, my speech in Chicago. When I'm paying for the autograph, it's a business transaction. It really is. I've met a lot of these guys before. To me, it's not super exciting to talk to somebody behind a table. It's a business transaction. If I'm paying real money, you are not going to mess up my item. You're not going to mess up my item. Not everyone is Cal Ripken, who treats your stuff like it's gold. He wants to make it perfect. He wants to do it the right way. Wow. So I sent this one out. Mike, you put yours up. I actually got mine back from PSA.
Oh, yeah, I don't have mine handy, but it looks very similar to that. It just doesn't have the debut written on it.
Yeah. I sent this into Denver Autographs to have this done. And Ed Emmett is actually on Boogers. And so he's a ticket collector himself. So he treats the stuff really well. But, hey, look, it looked great. It's a dynamite autograph. It came out white with the white pen. It looks great. But, you know, Elway did run off the debut off the side of the ticket. I guess he didn't do that on purpose. It still looks really good, but it was an auto 9 because that happened.
And that bothers you.
It doesn't bother me. Look, these guys do their best. When it really bothers me, because it happens to me too, you know, somebody can run off the ticket when I'm in line. It does upset me a little bit just because I know the grade's going to be lower. But hey, you know, it happens. It does happen.
When you said you put it on cardboard sometimes, would you just like use painter tape or just straight put it on cardboard and hand it to them?
Yeah, so I'll use those little corners, like corners for what you used to keep in like a photo album.
Right.
So I'll put the corners, but you got to be careful because sometimes cardboard has those little like indentations on it. And if you sign something, it will come up on that. So you got to just be careful. If you're going to use it, make sure it's like a flat board or something that's flat and doesn't have those ridges, because those ridges can really cause a problem. And you don't want your autograph to look lousy. You certainly don't. Not if you're paying a lot of money for it.
Yeah. Howard, going back to chasing autographs, you were arrested once? What's the story there?
Well, I will say this, you know, not to give, you know, all of the, I don't want to get in any kind of real trouble, but back in the day, I did have some things happen to me. Look, trespassed a whole bunch of times at hotels and went back, and police officers being nice to me saying, you know, I could throw you in jail for trespassing when you've already been trespassed by the hotel, meaning given a trespass warning. And I would just tell them, hey, I'm just here to get some ink. You know, it's just about the ink. And they would most of the time be really cool with me. But I did have a few things, and you know, I'm a lawyer. I've been a lawyer for 23 years. So when I went ahead and applied to the Florida bar, they ask you, have you ever had any run-ins with anything? And just to make sure that I put it all out there, because they don't want you to lie, and I don't want to lie, I actually had myself investigated by a PI just to make sure that everything that I gave them was accurate. But it's been a lot of years. But yeah, hey, you know, the picture of me and James Brown, I think I sent you that one. You know, I'm on a private runway right there with him that he went through, his limousine went through, and we went right in behind him. And, you know, that's, that's really not smart to do.
What kind of vehicle are you in?
I'm in my vehical.
And it's just, you know, you're in college, so it doesn't look like it belongs.
So basically it was a private airport in Fort Lauderdale, and they opened the gate. And when the gate opened, his limo went through. And as the gate was closing, my car went through too. And we'd get the autographs. We'd be super excited. And then the key was, I just hope they let us out. Yeah. I just hope they'll open the gate.
Like, how many would he sign right there? It looks like there's more than one.
Yeah. So we probably got, you know, 4 or 5 a piece. He was super nice. James Brown always treated us really well. So yeah, like, and I'm telling you guys, I never, unless I knew someone wasn't going to sign, if you were selling it, if they were suspicious of you selling it, I would just tell them that I'm selling it and tell them that it's money that I'm using to put myself through college and law school. And most of the time they were really receptive to it and just said, hey, I hope you get a lot of money. I hope you make a ton of money. And I wish you all the best. Make sure you tell us how much you got next time you see us in town.
Do you get all your tickets not all of them, but is your plan for every ticket you get, if you can, to get it autographed, or is it depends on the ticket, you know, the event?
Yeah, so that's a really good question. And I labor with it a lot of times. So here, I'll show you 2 tickets that I picked up recently, and I'm going to tell you, here's the 2 stories. So this one I got recently, and Sean knows this was a ticket I really wanted. This is the Dr. J. Larry Bird fight ticket. I don't know if y'all know that, but
yeah, I've seen that before.
The picture of Bird and Doc choking each other. It was a picture in my bedroom growing up as a kid. So it was a big deal. We hate the Celtics as 76ers fans. So this was cool to find. But as you can see, I mean, it's a pretty tiny ticket.
Yeah.
Now, my friend Sean, who owns Famous Ink, you know, he does signings all the time with Larry Bird. and Dr. J is his exclusive. But this ticket, I don't know. I just don't think this ticket should be signed by both of them, even with a fine point Sharpie or a fine point Stadler. I think I'm going to mess up the ticket. And I passed on getting it autographed. I'm happy with it. Looks great. I'm thrilled that I own it. And I just don't need it to get ruined. But this one I picked up, and this one I'm going to crack and get signed. This is the Bird Magic finals ticket. It's a low grade, but Sean at Famous Ink is doing Larry Bird in January. So I'll get him first. And then Mike, like you said, I'm going to probably have to bite the bullet and pay some big bucks to have Magic sign it. Because
that's the thing, a year or two ago, you could get these guys to sign this stuff for cheaper, but now these guys who have exclusives are like, oh, well, because, I had that with the Magic Baby Hook. He wanted, I think, $1,000 for it. And I was like, man, to be honest, it's not worth it to me to get that ticket signed for $1,000. So then it's like, well, man, what are they going to charge for something like that? It's just kind of frustrating. Like I said, you get it, but then it's to a point where you just running everybody off who would get these signed because you're charging so much.
Yeah, and that by extension might have a negative impact on the market.
I'm gonna pay the $1,000 if it's $1,000 to get Magic. I mean, whatever it is, I hope it's not $1,000. I have some people that I know, and maybe it'll be less to me. But I'm gonna crack it and try to get both of them on it because I do want that ticket signed if I can.
And it is kind of surprising that those two guys are such massive names, and they're both dudes that you can send your stuff into them and they'll sign.
Yeah.
Pretty cool.
So Howard, what do you think about the market in terms of the premium that it brings with the autographs? Do you think that that's sustainable long run?
Look, I kind of look at it as the tickets themselves are so rare. You went on eBay right now and you typed in 1986 Fleer Michael Jordan, you're going to find a ton of his rookies, a ton. I mean, pages and pages in different grades. If you typed in Michael Jordan debut on eBay right now, maybe you'll find one. Maybe there's someone with a crazy price on one just fishing. Yeah. But it's so much rarer what we're into, which makes it so much cooler. I mean, it's all about the hunt for us. So if you combine the rarity of the ticket with it now, it's even rarer because it's signed. It's a signed version of the ticket. That's what I like, but I do understand the hardcore ticket collectors that say, hey, I don't want anything signed. I don't like them signed. Whatever's your fancy, I'm cool with it. I like it. I know there's people on Boogers that don't believe in PSA. They think that's wrong. Everything should remain raw. I get it. I hear you. So it's whatever kind of suits you. But if it's rare and then autographed on top of it, I think that's capitalizing twice. And for me, that's super cool. It combines the autographs that I grew up doing, and it kind of brings me back to those fun moments in my life when life was carefree. I didn't have a mortgage, and I didn't have kids, and I didn't have a wife, and I didn't have all the things that go along with life. So it's kind of fun to me. It brings me back to those days. And then it's just, on top of that, I've got a really rare, almost in some cases, unreplaceable piece of memorabilia, collectible. So it's cool. Yeah.
So I feel like we've dug into the auto talk quite a bit. And this actually, the next topic kind of spearheaded us all meeting because Howard hit maybe me up or Sean up first, was like, hey, let's get a top 100 ticket list going. And so basically, I can't remember if I did or maybe somebody created a spreadsheet. I think I might have, and sent it to them, be like, hey, rank these. But then the debate comes on, how do you rank these? Do you put debuts and historical together? We put concerts. Do we get everybody's input and combine them? Or is it kind of we're overseeing this? So give me your thoughts on how this list should be.
It was Howard. It was your idea originally. So why don't you go first?
So I really just hijacked it from PWCC doing their top 100 card list. And like I said, I was a card collector in the day. I haven't collected cards in a long time. but I thought the list was terrific, and I thought their videos were terrific, and it really brought me back to card collecting, and I liked hearing about it more than just the list, but the debate. Like, why is that card on the list, and why is that card not on the list, and why shouldn't this card be on the list, and why did they miss out by not putting Pete Rose rookie on the 100 card list? So I thought the debate was good. I watched every one of those episodes. They educated me. I liked it. And I kept saying to myself, you know, we always talk about these Grail tickets and what's on our lists. I know Darren Ravel has always said when he collected tickets, he jumped in and thought about it first. You know, what do I want to collect? The top 100 moments for him. And I think it's just great if I'm sure everyone's got a list. I'm sure everyone's got a want list, and everyone thinks about moments, debuts, or something that's special to them. And I think if we kind of put together the 100 top ticket list, it would be cool for the hobby. The debate would be cool for sure too, because I'm sure there's things on my list that certainly would not be on Shaun's list, and vice versa. You're not going to find any Mariners tickets on my list, Shaun. Sorry.
Not one.
What about?
Yeah, I don't think so. Not even.
What about the grippy slide?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know.
See?
Mike, there definitely wouldn't be, Mike, any Texas Rangers tickets on my list.
No, the Nolan Ryan Ventura fight.
So that brings up I have a couple comments there. One is it a list of iconic tickets, or is it a list of iconic events? Because they're two distinct things. A ticket could be iconic far more so than the event itself. I think the Ruth Called Shot is a good example of that, where the ticket is definitely iconic, top 5 for sure. But the Called Shot as an event in sports history probably isn't, you know.
And you made that argument also about the Tyson Douglas ticket fight, which is a historical event upset, you know, in sports history, but the ticket is super rare, but it's very bland, and it doesn't just have.
Yeah, it's not something that if you Googled it, it would pop up, you know, as a ticket. If I said Tyson Douglas PSA ticket on Google, it would, an image of that, maybe there would be one, but you know, it wouldn't be just all images of that ticket. So I guess, you know, there's kind of a fine line between what is an iconic ticket and what is an iconic event, and how we clarify that so that whoever is voting, you know, knows what they're going after, if that makes sense.
Yeah, for me, I think there's got to be elements of both, but for me, the collectability is really tickets to those events, tickets to those amazing, iconic, memorable events. And even, you know, debuts, I think, are memorable, iconic events for some players.
Game Time Gallery says should be top 100 iconic versus memorable event would be part of the debate, which is part of the fun.
Yeah.
You know, I kind of say I think it's kind of all differently depending on the historical significance, depending on, you know, how known that ticket is in the ticket world. It's just kind of, and you just kind of somehow meld those things together. And
man, this could be a lot of debate then, because there's so many. I go back to debuts, and I don't think debuts, for the most part, there's a few debuts, but most of them are not iconic. You know, they're just.
The other question is, you know, like I've never seen a Wilt or a Russell debut, but it's freaking Wilt Chamberlain. So I've never even seen one. So where would I put that on the list?
In the same collection.
I have too.
But yeah, you're right. They're not. They would be iconic if there was enough of them to go around. So that brings up the other point, and that is that if there's not enough to have been sold,
are even seen.
Yeah, right. So people know what it looks like and are familiar with it visually, then should it be considered an iconic ticket?
Yeah, I mean, it might be. It might not be. It depends on your list. I mean, look,
the eye of the beholder, I guess.
So my list is just going to be all baseball then.
I mean, I have my
list.
Like
I said, my list is going to have 200 tickets, and it's all going to have baseball.
I feel like it should be kind of what you like, but also what you feel like the community feels. It's almost more of what the community feels, because you don't want to throw in all your Griffies, and I want to throw in my Maverick stuff. Like
he likes the Griffey father-son back-to-back home runs. That's an iconic ticket.
I agree. It's a great ticket.
I'm not saying it's top 5, but it's top 100.
Yeah, I think what Mike said is kind of the way to do it. It's what you think is top 100 moments, top 100 iconic tickets, and what the ticket community as a whole would believe the top 100 should be. I think you can add your own personality and your own individualisms to it. But I still believe, look, I put together my list, and it was pretty easy to put together top 25, top 50. Once I got below 50, there was a lot of events that I was thinking about and tickets that I had and tickets that I want. But it wasn't so easy to put together that last 50. And then to try to have to rank them, that's really tough.
Yeah, it gets hard once definitely you get in the lower or those high numbers. And then the other part was, stub versus full. I just kind of I was thinking about just melding those together, not separating the stubs and the fulls.
Right. So the only one I had a question on was like the version of it specifically. For me, the Derek Jeter 3000 hit is iconic, but only the version that has Derek Jeter on it.
And I think we'd always default to the best version of the ticket in the rankings.
Yeah. Okay.
Isn't it funny, Mike, that he brings up Derek Jeter as an iconic ticket? Like Derek Jeter 3000. You hate Derek Jeter.
That's when I'm in the mindset of what the community is, what I think the community is into, not what I'm into. I don't want it.
I want to know, where does Judge's 60-second home run ticket land on the list?
See, I think that that's a good question. I think that it's too early to
That's another one, though, because sometimes a ticket that there's a lot of them out there kind of gets more into people's consciousness.
Right. And that's why I would put the Giannis debut on there, because it's everywhere and everybody knows it so well as kind of that modern.
Or like the crazy Messi debut. Like, does that help things because there's so many of them?
I absolutely think it does. That's definitely, in terms of the definition of iconic, that's iconic. It's not something that's necessarily, everybody really wants in their collection necessarily. Some people do, but wouldn't you say that's iconic?
It's iconic.
I mean, yeah, I think it's pretty in the ticket world. If you don't know what a Messi debut looks like, you probably don't follow. I mean, you don't follow it too closely because it's just, you see it so damn much. But yeah, like 23 Aaron said, I think it's just, you just got to take basically what he's saying. Otherwise, you put a lot of the Jordan debuts up there and they'd hit the list multiple times. But he does love hitting some Jordan.
Yeah. Yeah. So
I think that's was part of the debate in the PWCC card list, was there were so many Jordan cards. People were getting upset. I think there were 5 or 6.
Well, how'd they do like the Bowman Chrome stuff? Like, did it always default to the superfractor? Or is it just kind of like, we're just going to meld all the Trout, rookies into just one? How did they handle that?
So they just had different versions of different cards that were the best of the best in their world. Yeah. I don't really know too much about refractors. I hear it all the time, or patch auto. I don't really know a lot about that.
You haven't been out of that card game for too long, then. Huh?
Yeah. But the list was great, and the debate was, it's the kind of the community 100 greatest cards, and people were inclined to have to vote on that list. And then should tickets for us be on the list? And then if they are on the list, where do they place on the list? And that's
we kind of just only sports tickets right now. Maybe do a separate non-sports list.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
Well, the other question is, do we send it out to the masses and then bring them back in? And then
how do we get the actual 100? Because I think that there would be considerable amount of debate over what should even be on the list for voting. Because
I don't think you can take, as Howard was wanting me to take stuff off, but I'm like, well, I don't want to take anything off, because one man's trash is another man's treasure. It's like, he may think
so.
2,000.
Right. If you're trying to get down to 100, though, you have to come up with, that
No,
number.
that list probably had a couple hundred. I think that
Yeah.
spreadsheet.
Yeah.
I mean, I had it. I can kind of give people a kind of look of what I was sending out to Howard and them, and it just kind of had, different sports and then different rankings, and this is kind of what rarity, and that was the other thing, the criteria. I put like rarity, market cap value, optics, historical significance, desirability. But I don't know if there's any certain terms we would want to fall upon that would, we print it. If we gave this list out, say, hey, give me your rankings.
Yeah.
What
people need to know what they're ranking and how they're ranking.
The criteria.
I've heard in the ticket world the 3 R's: rarity, relevance, replaceability. So those were kind of some of the criteria I kind of thought about. But look, it depends on how much effort everyone wants to put into it. Because if we're going to take submissions from everybody and then have to weed all of those down, it's a lot more work on the back end, as opposed to kind of taking suggestions from people and building a list of 150 or 200 tickets and then having people determine, do they belong in the top? And I think people would probably rank 75, maybe they would rank 100. I don't know. Where do they fall on the list? And then, of course, where on the list that they fall. That's going to be look, I think we all know there's probably a Mount Rushmore of tickets.
Right.
And outside of that, everything will be debatable. But hey, even where they fall on that list of the Mount Rushmore tickets is probably debatable as well.
Yeah. And Aaron said, let the public vote on the top 10 or top 25, poll the public. And Steve, how do you choose between a debut and a historical event with most debuts trump everything else and as soon or so rare? I guess that comes back to,
that's what I was saying. And I'm a debut collector, but I don't believe that most debuts are iconic. I think that, a LeBron debut is iconic. I think that Jordan debut is iconic. Obviously Jackie Robinson, but, Sandy Koufax, no, because you don't see them.
Triple X 20 Fun said, find your love here.
Best comment yet.
Nice to know those people are watching.
But yeah, do you think if anybody wants this, just send them out the list and have them send them back to me, and then we can maybe figure out, combine them, maybe not combine them, or, I guess it's all fluid.
Yeah. So I created a list and I had 125 and I based it on your list, and I took a few off, and added a lot of ones that I thought should be on the list. So it would be interesting.
Send me the ones you wanted added.
Well, no, I just made another list. It wasn't necessarily, I wasn't editing yours or anything, but I was just doing it for myself just to see, how it compared and everything.
Right.
But through the process, I thought of a lot of tickets that weren't on your list that maybe you just forgot about. Or maybe you're just not aware of, the significance in a different genre that you don't follow as much. And I know I'm guilty of that too. There's a lot of ticket genres and sports that I just don't follow that much. And I don't really know what the big tickets are. Hockey is an example of that. I know of maybe 2 or 3, but there's probably hockey collectors who some tickets are just huge in their community. So that's kind of the challenge of how that weighs with the greater community of ticket collecting, so it's, we could go
Not
on and
easy.
on.
We post it on Boogers and say, hey, here it is, send it back to me?
Well, all I'm going to tell you is I reached out to a few people just that I know in the ticket world and told them about what we were planning, and they were super excited. And they were like, look, if you want us to grade a list, we'll grade a list. If you want us to contribute to a list, we'll contribute to a list. Whatever you all want to do, we're a part of it because we think it's a good idea.
And I sent it out to about 30 collectors, right, Howard?
I didn't send it out to everybody. I just had a list of about 35 people that I talk to on a fairly regular basis, or I've talked to over a period of time. And I put that list together for you all, but I did talk to about a handful, and some people that I was kind of shocked that they're kind of in the back channels of tickets, and they don't like to be public. They like to remain private, but they were willing to participate, and they thought it was a great idea, and they were excited. And like I've said to you guys, that's the one little rub that I have with tickets, is just that there's not more people doing it. And I think this will engender more people potentially to participate in ticket collecting if we start to push something like this more on a global scale.
Yeah.
I'd like to maybe get it out to the collectors of the world and maybe try to get it back by Christmas, and then start putting something together after the New Year's. And
maybe we should just publish a list and then just take suggestions for additional, and just let the list grow as much as it needs to, and then kind of figure out how to whittle down to 100,
right,
something like that, and then use the 100 to send out, have people rank their top 75. From that, we could create the order, based on rankings.
I think that's a good idea. Yeah. No list to Justin unless he promises no Kobe tickets, no Ruth tickets, no Dodger tickets. That's going to be his whole list.
Yeah, his whole list will do that.
Just teasing.
Yeah,
he's a good guy.
Yeah. So I guess that should be the framework for the plan going forward. But I don't know. This is going to be a lot harder than I think we're thinking.
But yeah, and then figuring out the presentation of it, you do the top 10 video, you do one at a time like PWCC. There's just a lot of different ways you could spin it. But I'm really curious to see what the final top 10, top 20 would be, because I think pretty similar, but it could definitely, differ for sure.
So to be clear, though, it's iconic tickets, right? Not most valuable, not top list, whatever. It's iconic. I
think I guess iconic, or I guess if that's the word you want to use.
I like iconic. I think iconic is the way to go. I like iconic. Yeah. I like Steve. I like Steve's idea. I got to meet Steve at the National. Steve's a really good guy, but I like Steve's comment. The hashing it out, and the reason why certain tickets hit a list and certain tickets didn't, and how come that ticket made it and that ticket didn't, or why is that ticket number 5 and this ticket number 12? That's the whole fun of it. The argument and the debates, it's all in good fun, but that's what makes it exciting. Yeah, I think.
Yeah,
agreed.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, my hunch is we'll be able to find a lot more people than we think that are willing to fill out a top 75 list.
Yeah, I think we just need to give them a deadline and be like, hey, we need it by this date, and then we'll roll from there. But yeah, I think I like it. And I think people would really get a kick out of seeing what the rankings would be. And just a lot of stuff people didn't realize, like looking at the list being like, oh, wow, yeah, I forgot. That's a really cool one. And that's kind of what's cool about that list.
When I was looking at your list, there were a lot of ones that I didn't recognize, but then I Googled them just to see what the ticket looked like. And, oh, yeah, that's that one. Okay. Because I've seen it many times, but I just didn't know it by the event, so to speak.
Right.
Yeah, when I looked at your list, Mike, there were some things on there. I was like, oh, yeah, I didn't think about that. That's a great ticket. That should definitely be on the list. It wasn't on my list, but it should have been on my list. So, yeah, it's good to see it. Good to see what other people are thinking about different genres.
Mm-hmm. Well, cool. I guess we'll have to get this going a little further. Let me see what more comment. Then as a follow-up, you can do some sort of showing, and let's be honest, some we have never seen before. Yeah. As we're talking about with some of those debuts. And then Just said, when the final list is announced, are you going to have a picture of the ticket? Yeah, I think we would definitely have.
Oh, yeah.
The video.
I would want to have a small picture of every single ticket, because that's
no doubt. That's part of the.
Yeah, you need to be able to see it to rank it in a lot of cases.
And I would hope that Darren would participate. I think it's always good to have his media presence, and him talking about it, I think is always good. And I like Darren a lot. And then if we could potentially get some people who are just not exclusively ticket people, they do everything, but they also do tickets, to be involved because they have a social media presence and they could talk about it a little bit. I think that would be good too. I think it would be good for ticket collecting overall. So
yeah, it's fun. It'd be fun too.
I think that's a good way to end it. I think we'll chat a little bit more about this off air. But maybe people will be seeing that list out more. We may put something on boogers. I don't know. We maybe finalize something tonight, and maybe by Christmas get something in, and then by New Year's, I think that's could be kind of the goal, to have something pretty close to finalize, and then decide how to put it out there.
Yeah.
Well, thank you guys for having me. I really appreciate it. I look forward to the list.
Yeah.
Appreciate it, Howard. Come on. Love the stories. Love your
stories.
collection. Was there anything else you wanted to show that you had?
Nah, that's about what I brought with me. So, no, that was it.
Outstanding.
Game Time appreciates the show also. Great show always. Appreciate it. Game Time. Maybe next week we'll try to get something together. I know holidays is coming up, but we'll go from there, and we'll keep talking tickets.
All right.
Be well, guys. Take care.
All right,
Thank you.
Thanks.